There is a game being played all around you, right now, every single day, in your workplace, in your relationships, in the streets, in the boardrooms, in the halls of government, in your own home. And here is the terrifying truth. Most people don't even know the game exists. They are the pieces on the board, not the hands moving them. And that is exactly why some people always seem to win, always seem to rise, always seem to land on their feet no matter what, while others, no matter how hard they work, no matter how honest they are, no matter how much they give, stay exactly where they are, confused and exhausted, wondering why life never seems to go their way. Robert Greene spent years studying history's most powerful figures, kings, generals, seducers, philosophers, warriors, and visionaries, and from all of that research he extracted the cold, raw, unspoken rules that the powerful have always used, but never publicly admitted. He called them the 48 laws of power, and once you hear them, you will never look at the world the same way again. So settle in, because what you are about to hear is not motivational fluff. This is not positive thinking wrapped in a bow. This is the architecture of power, how it is built, how it is kept, how it is taken, and how it is lost. This is the book they don't teach in school, the manual the powerful don't want you to have. Every law is a mirror, and some of what you see in that mirror is going to disturb you. But here is what you need to understand. Knowing these laws does not make you dangerous. Ignorance of them makes you vulnerable. Let us begin. The game starts with who you surround yourself with, and more importantly, how you position yourself around people who already hold power. Law 1 says, never outshine the master. This seems simple, even obvious, but people break this law every single day and wonder why they get crushed. When you are in a position beneath someone with power, your job is not to show them how brilliant you are. Your job is to make them feel brilliant, make them feel secure, make them feel like the sun in the room. Because the moment your boss or your superior feels overshadowed by you, something primal awakens in them, fear. And when powerful people are afraid, they do not promote you. They eliminate you. History is full of talented people, destroyed by the very bosses they were trying to impress. The lesson, let your light shine, but always make sure theirs shines brighter, at least while you still need them. Law 2 immediately builds on this, and it will challenge everything you were taught growing up. Never put too much trust in friends. Learn how to use enemies. We are raised to believe that friends are everything. But the argument here is ruthlessly logical. A friend given a position of power may betray you because the relationship breeds comfort and entitlement. They begin to feel they deserve what you gave them. An enemy, however, given a second chance, works harder than anyone to prove themselves, always aware they are being watched. Your enemies respect your power enough to fear you. Your friends often stop respecting it altogether. Do not be naive about loyalty. Observe it, test it. Then comes Law 3, and this one changes everything about how you move through the world. Conceal your intentions. Never let people know your next move. The moment you reveal your goals, you give others the information they need to block you, undercut you, or steal your idea before you have had time to execute it. Powerful people are deliberately vague. They smile and nod and let you think you understand them, while their real plans are being quietly executed behind the scenes. Misdirection is not petty deception. It is strategy. It is protection. And it is how great moves are made before anyone sees them coming. And if you are going to conceal your intentions, Law 4 is the natural partner. Always say less than necessary. Words are not just communication. Words are vulnerability. The more you talk, the more you reveal. The more you reveal, the more ammunition you hand to your adversaries. Silence is power. Silence makes people nervous. When you say less, people project intelligence and depth onto you. They fill in the blanks with their imagination, and their imagination is often far more favorable than the truth. Learn to sit with silence. Learn to let a pause carry more weight than a sentence. The person who speaks least often holds the most authority in the room. Now we enter deeper territory. Because power is not just about what you say. It is about what you represent, what others believe about you before you even open your mouth. Law 5 declares, so much depends on reputation. Guard it with your life. Reputation is your shadow. It walks into every room before you do. It shapes how people hear your words, interpret your actions, and respond to your requests. A great reputation is built slowly and destroyed quickly. One scandal, one public failure, one moment of exposed weakness, and years of carefully constructed credibility can collapse overnight. Protect yours the way a general protects supply lines, because once they are cut, the whole campaign collapses. Law 6. Court attention at all costs. The world is a noise machine. Thousands of voices competing for the same eyeballs, the same ears, the same shrinking window of attention. To be ignored is to be powerless. Create an air of mystery. Do the unexpected. Be talked about. Because the alternative, invisibility, is the slow death of influence. The greatest figures in history understood that spectacle was strategy. They wore the extravagant clothing, built the monuments, staged the elaborate ceremonies, not out of vanity, but out of a deep understanding that the human eye gravitates toward the extraordinary and stays away from the ordinary. Law 7. Get others to do the work for you, but always take the credit. This sounds ruthless only if you misunderstand it. A general does not dig trenches. A visionary does not write every line of code. Power means learning to leverage the talent and intelligence of others, positioning yourself as the architect of the result. Delegate boldly, lead clearly, and take ownership of what your team produces. That is not theft. That is leadership. Law 8. Make other people come to you. Use bait if necessary. Whoever holds the meeting location, whoever chooses the timing, whoever makes the other party travel, holds an invisible advantage from the very beginning. Power means you move people toward you, not chase after them. Create conditions that make others come to your table. Your value, your mystery, your desirability, these are the bait. The moment you start chasing, you have already weakened your position before the conversation even starts. And now the laws begin to sharpen into something almost surgical, something that goes beyond positioning and enters the realm of pure psychological mastery. Law 9. Win through your actions, never through argument. Arguments create losers, and losers remember. Even when you win a debate, you often lose the relationship. You may be factually correct, but you have bruised someone's ego, and bruised egos do not forgive. They wait. Demonstrate your point through results. Let your outcomes be the argument. When reality proves you right, no one can debate it, and no one has to feel defeated by your words. Law 10. Infection. Avoid the unhappy and the unlucky. This law is uncomfortable because it sounds cold, but it is profoundly true. Misery is not just an emotion. It is an energy that transfers. Spend enough time around people who are perpetually negative, perpetually victimized, perpetually unlucky, and their energy begins to infiltrate yours. You start to carry their weight. You start to make decisions from their perspective. Protect your mental environment the same way you protect your physical one. You cannot rise surrounded by people who are determined to stay on the ground. Law 11. Learn to keep people dependent on you. If people can replace you, they eventually will. But if your skill, your access, your relationship, your knowledge, if any of these become essential to someone's success, you become irreplaceable. This is not about being a gatekeeper out of pettiness. It is about cultivating a unique value that cannot be easily duplicated. Make yourself the person the machine cannot run without. Law 12. Use selective honesty and generosity to disarm your opponent. A single well-timed act of generosity can erase suspicion and open doors that years of maneuvering could not. Strategic honesty, admitting a small fault to conceal a larger strategy, disarms people completely. It makes them lower their guard. Use kindness as a calculated instrument, not just a spontaneous emotion. The most compelling figures in history were masters of seeming warmth while operating with an iron clarity of purpose beneath the surface. We are now crossing into the laws that reveal the deepest mechanics of influence. The laws that operate not just on behavior, but on belief, on the invisible architecture of how people make decisions. Law 13. When asking for help, appeal to self-interest, never to mercy or gratitude. People do not help you because you deserve it. They help you because it benefits them, practically, emotionally, reputationally. When you appeal to mercy, you make people feel burdened. When you appeal to self-interest, you make them feel smart. Frame every request around what the other person gains. Make helping you feel like the obvious, logical, self-serving choice, and you will rarely hear the word no. Law 14. Pose as a friend, work as a spy. Information is currency. The most powerful people in any environment know more than they reveal. They listen more than they speak. They ask questions that seem friendly, but are actually reconnaissance. Every conversation is a data-gathering opportunity. The more you understand about people's desires, fears, weaknesses, and ambitions, the more precisely you can position yourself to be exactly what they need, exactly when they need it most. Law 15. Crush your enemy totally. This sounds extreme, but the history of power is full of leaders who made the mistake of leaving a defeated enemy with just enough strength to recover. Wounded enemies heal, and when they do, they come back with a rage that is fueled by humiliation. If you must engage in conflict, and sometimes you must, do not play at it. Commit fully. Remove the threat completely. A half victory is simply a countdown to your own defeat. Law 16. Use absence to increase respect and honor. Presence diminishes perception. The more available you are, the more ordinary you become. Mystery requires distance. Desire requires scarcity. When you pull back, when you make yourself less accessible, people begin to wonder, to miss, to crave. Absence deployed correctly makes you larger in the imagination than your presence ever could. Now we turn to the laws that deal with something even more powerful than strategy, the unpredictable, irrational, deeply human force of perception. Law 17. Keep others in suspended terror. Cultivate an air of unpredictability. Predictable people are controllable people. When others can anticipate your every move, they can plan around you, neutralize you, take you for granted. But when you occasionally do the unexpected, when you break from your pattern in ways that cannot be fully explained, people become cautious. They cannot fully relax around you. And that tension, that slight edge of uncertainty, keeps you perpetually relevant and respected. Law 18. Do not build fortresses to protect yourself. Isolation is dangerous. The powerful ruler who retreats behind walls cuts himself off from intelligence, from allies, from the pulse of his world. Power requires engagement. It requires information flow. Stay connected, even while staying selective. Know what is happening around you. The bunker is always a trap dressed up as safety. Law 19. Know who you are dealing with. Do not offend the wrong person. Not everyone reacts the same way to the same pressure. Some people absorb an offense and let it go. Others absorb it, smile at you across the table, and then spend years quietly engineering your destruction. Before you act against someone, before you dismiss or underestimate them, know who they are. Know how they process humiliation. Know what they are capable of when they feel wounded. Underestimating your opponent is how empires fall. Order 20. Do not commit to anyone. The moment you publicly align with one side, you make enemies of all other sides. Power lies in the middle, in being the one that everyone courts rather than the one attached to a faction. Stay independent. Let powerful people compete for your loyalty. Be desired by many. Belong exclusively to none. The laws now begin to target something most people overlook entirely, the architecture of how you appear in the eyes of others and how that appearance can be engineered with precision. Law 21. Play a sucker to catch a sucker. Seem dumber than your mark. Intelligence that is visible is intelligence that is feared and guarded against. When you appear less capable than you are, people underestimate you. They share information they would normally protect. They drop their defenses, and then, when the moment comes, you act with a precision they never saw coming. Appearing dumb is not weakness. It is one of the oldest forms of camouflage known to those who truly understand power. Law 22. Use the surrender tactic. Transform weakness into power. When you are outmatched, fighting back is vanity. The smart move is to yield, to bow, to let the aggressor feel their victory, and then use the time and space that surrender buys to regroup, reposition, and eventually strike from a place of genuine strength. Surrendering is not losing. Sometimes it is the most intelligent opening move of an eventual and decisive victory. Law 23. Concentrate your forces. Spreading yourself across too many fronts, too many projects, too many relationships dilutes everything. The laser beam cuts through steel. The flashlight illuminates nothing powerfully. Find your strongest point. Focus your resources there with an almost obsessive intensity. The concentrated force always defeats the scattered one. Law 24. Play the perfect courtier. In any environment of power, there are unwritten rules of behavior. The people who navigate these rules elegantly, who know how to flatter without being obvious, how to advise without threatening, how to be ambitious without being aggressive, these are the people who endure. Study the culture around you. Adapt, not to lose yourself, but to move within the system with maximum effectiveness. Law 25. Recreate yourself. Do not accept the identity that your origins, your family, or your circumstances handed you. The most powerful people in history authored themselves. They chose who they were going to be, and then inhabited that character completely. They controlled their narrative. They refused to be defined by others. You are not the sum of what happened to you. You are the sum of what you decide to become, starting now. And here is where the laws begin to feel almost mythological, because we enter the realm of theater, mystique, and the deep human hunger for belief. Law 26. Keep your hands clean. Power requires plausible deniability. The truly powerful never appear to be the source of difficult or controversial action. They use intermediaries. They create distance between themselves and the unpleasant decisions their position requires. When something goes wrong, they are visibly outraged. When someone is blamed, it is never them. Their image remains pristine while the machinery beneath it does what is necessary. Law 27. Play on people's need to believe to create a devoted following. Human beings have an almost infinite capacity for belief. They hunger for something larger than themselves. A cause, a vision, a leader, a mystery. Tap into that hunger. Offer people a sense of purpose, a narrative that gives their lives meaning, a figure they can project their highest hopes onto. The most powerful leaders in history were not always the most competent. They were the most compelling. They offered a story, and people followed the story further than they ever would have followed a plan. Law 28. Enter action with boldness. Timid actions invite resistance. Bold moves create their own momentum. When you act with complete confidence, even when you are not fully certain, people respond to the energy of commitment. Hesitation communicates doubt. Doubt communicates weakness, and weakness is an open invitation for challenge. Whatever you are going to do, commit to it completely. Let there be no question in your bearing, your voice, or your body language. Boldness is magnetic. It pulls people along in its wake. Law 29. Plan all the way to the end. Most people plan for the beginning. They think about how to start, how to launch, how to make the first move. But the powerful plan backward from the outcome. They see the end before they take the first step. They anticipate the obstacles, the betrayals, the unexpected twists, and they have already built in contingencies. The chess master is not thinking about the next move. They are thinking 10 moves ahead, and they already see checkmate. Law 30. Make your accomplishments seem effortless. Effort signals struggle, and struggle signals that perhaps you are not as naturally extraordinary as you appear. The greatest performers throughout history understood this completely. They practiced for thousands of hours, and then made the performance look casual, fluid, inevitable. Do not show your process. Show your result. Let people marvel at the outcome without seeing the labor that produced it. This creates an aura of natural gifts that no amount of visible hard work can manufacture. Now the laws move into the mastery of environment, timing, and the deepest emotional currents of human nature, the invisible forces that govern how people truly make decisions. Law 31. Control the options. Get others to play with the cards you deal. The greatest illusion of power is giving people a choice, when all the choices lead to your preferred outcome. Skilled negotiators, politicians, and strategists have always understood this. Frame the options. Define the boundaries of the conversation. Let people feel they are deciding freely, while the decision you want was already built into the structure of the question. Law 32. Play to people's fantasies. Reality is hard. It is often limiting and disappointing. People live for their fantasies of wealth, transformation, revenge, recognition, love. The person who speaks directly to those fantasies, who gives people the vision they secretly carry, who wraps their offer in the language of dreams, this person will always have followers. Do not sell the product. Sell the life the product makes possible. Law 33. Discover each person's pressure point. Everyone has a weakness, a fear, a wound, an obsession they cannot control. Find it, not necessarily to exploit it cruelly, but to understand it, because understanding someone's deepest emotional driver gives you the key to their behavior. You know what moves them. You know what they will sacrifice everything to protect. And with that knowledge, you can guide them precisely where you need them to go. Law 34. Be royal in your own fashion. Act like a king to be treated like one. How you carry yourself is the first and most powerful communication you make. Before you speak a single word, your posture, your pace, your eye contact, all of it broadcasts your self-assessment to everyone in the room. People treat you the way you treat yourself. Demand respect not by insisting on it verbally, but by radiating it physically, energetically, consistently. Act as though you already belong at the highest table. Eventually you will be seated there. Law 35. Master the art of timing. The right action at the wrong moment is no different from the wrong action. Power requires patience, the ability to wait while conditions ripen, to recognize when the tide is turning, and to move decisively the moment it does. Never rush out of anxiety. Never hesitate out of excessive caution. Read the rhythm of your environment. Know when to push and when to pull back. Timing is not luck. It is the supreme skill of the strategically patient. We are now entering the final stretch of these laws, and they are the ones that separate the truly powerful from the merely ambitious. The ones that require not just intelligence, but a kind of cold, clear-eyed mastery of yourself. Law 36. Disdain things you cannot have. Ignoring them is the best revenge. When you cannot have something, acknowledging your desire for it gives it power over you. The most devastating response to being denied is indifference. When you act as though something does not matter to you, when you make it invisible, it loses its ability to wound you, and your adversary loses the satisfaction of your reaction. Indifference is armor, and deployed correctly, it is also a weapon. Law 37. Create compelling spectacles. Beyond words, beyond logic, beyond argument, there is the realm of the image, the symbol, the ceremony. Human beings are primal. We respond to what we see before we process what we hear. In your own life, understand that the way you present ideas, the environments you create, the experiences you craft, these speak louder than any explanation you could ever offer. Law 38. Think as you like, but behave like others. Your unconventional thinking, your radical ideas, your private beliefs, keep them close. Share them only with those you absolutely trust. In public, conform enough to be accepted. Blend enough not to trigger the defensive reflexes of the crowd. The rebel who announces their rebellion before they are powerful enough to defend it simply gets eliminated early. Wait, build your position. Then, from a place of real security, you can afford to be bold. Law 39. Stir up waters to catch fish. Agitation is a tool. When people are emotionally unsettled, they reveal their true priorities. They act impulsively. The strategist who can remain calm while others are disturbed gains an enormous informational and tactical advantage. Throw a stone into the still pond, not to destroy it, but to see what surfaces from the deep when the water moves. Law 40. Despise the free lunch. Nothing is ever truly free. Everything has a hidden cost, an obligation, a debt of gratitude that can be called in at any moment. The powerful always pay their own way. They resist gifts from those with agendas. They understand that accepting favors is accepting invisible chains. Freedom costs something, and the person who pays their own price owns their own choices entirely. And now the laws reach their most profound depth, because we arrive at the nature of legacy, of conflict, of the human heart itself, and how all of these must be mastered if power is to be real and lasting. Law 41. Avoid stepping into a great man's shoes. The shadow of a legendary predecessor is one of the most suffocating places to stand. When you inherit a position made famous by someone extraordinary, the comparison begins instantly and never ends. Everything you do is measured against what they did. The smart move is to go your own direction entirely. Create your own territory, your own identity, your own legacy. Do not be the next anyone. Be the first you. Law 42. Strike the shepherd and the sheep will scatter. In any organization, any movement, any conflict, there is a source. One mind, one will. One organizing principle holding everything together. Address the symptoms and they return. But remove the source, the ringleader, the instigator, the one mind behind the disruption, and the energy that held the group together dissipates on its own. Every problem has a leader. Find the leader. Law 43. Work on the hearts and minds of others. Pure force only holds people as long as the force is present. Remove it and people rebel. But genuine influence, the kind that has entered someone's heart, that has shaped their emotions, their loyalties, their sense of who they are, this kind of influence sustains itself without enforcement. The most enduring powers in history did not just command. They inspired, they made people feel something real. And what people feel deeply, they defend fiercely. Law 44. Disarm and infuriate with the mirror effect. Reflect back to people exactly what they do to you. Use the same methods they employ. This creates a powerful psychological unease. They suddenly see themselves from the outside, and what they see is often deeply uncomfortable. The mirror is a weapon of exposure. It says without a single word, I see exactly what you are doing, and I can do it too. Law 45. Preach the need for change, but never reform too much at once. Change is threatening. Even people who say they want change often resist it viscerally when it actually arrives at their door. The reformer who moves too fast triggers panic, and panicked people push back with everything they have. Introduce change gradually. Wrap it in familiar language. Let people adapt to each step before you take the next. Revolutions that accelerate beyond what people can absorb always produce a counter-revolution. Law 46. Never appear too perfect. This is one of the most counterintuitive laws in the entire book, and one of the most important. Perfection provokes envy, and envy, allowed to fester unchecked, becomes destruction. When you appear utterly flawless, when others cannot find a single vulnerability, a single relatable imperfection, they begin to resent you. That resentment quietly becomes a mission, strategically reveals small harmless weaknesses. Admit to a minor flaw. Let people feel slightly superior in at least one domain. It disarms their resentment before it can organize itself against you. And now we arrive at the final two laws. And they are the ones that frame everything that came before them, the ones that reveal the true shape of power at its highest level. Law 47. Do not go past the mark you aimed for. In victory, learn when to stop. Success is intoxicating, and intoxication ruins judgment. The general who wins the battle and then, drunk on victory, overextends his forces, reaches too far, too fast, too hungrily, loses everything he just gained. Know your objectives, achieve them, and then stop, consolidate. Secure what you have won before you reach for more. The line between triumph and overreach is razor thin, and history's graveyards are full of the powerful who ignored it. And finally, Law 48, assume formlessness. This is the law that sits above all other laws, because it is the law of adaptability itself. Everything you have learned in the previous 47 laws can become a prison if you apply them rigidly. The most enduring powers, the most dangerous opponents, the most resilient empires, they are the ones that cannot be categorized, cannot be predicted, cannot be pinned down and targeted. Be like water. Move around obstacles. Change shape to fit the container. Never be so committed to any single strategy that you cannot abandon it the moment circumstances change, because they will always change. You have now heard all 48 laws, and here is what I want you to sit with before this ends. These laws are not new. They did not begin with any book. They began with the first human beings who ever competed for resources, for shelter, for recognition, for survival. They have been operating in the background of every court, every corporation, every community, every relationship you have ever been part of. The only question that has ever mattered, was whether you knew them or not, whether you were playing the game consciously and deliberately, or being played without ever knowing the game existed. And now you know, but knowledge without wisdom is just another form of danger, because the person who reads these laws and immediately becomes manipulative, who starts to see every relationship as a chess match, every person as a piece to be moved, that person has missed the deeper lesson entirely. The deeper lesson is this: understand the game so that you are never its victim. Understand how power moves so that you can navigate your life with clarity and intention. Know where the traps are so that you can choose not to fall into them, and choose not to lay them for others when it is not necessary. The 48 laws of power are a mirror. What you do with what you see in that mirror, that is entirely up to you, but you can never say you were not warned, and you can never say you did not know. Now go out there and play wisely.